Red Hulk is now in the MCU, and he's seriously powerful. In fact, probably a true rival to the OG, strongest guy in the MCU, the actual Hulk. So today, here's the question on the table. Can Hulk and Red Hulk take down Superman? Hulk versus Superman is already an iconic fight, and this time, well, he's bringing some backup. So who wins here? Who's going to be coming out on top? Let's get into it. Dr. Bruce Banner is a renowned scientist and a leading expert in the fields of biochemistry, nuclear physics, and gamma radiation. Because of that, well, he was one of the scientists tasked with trying to recreate the super soldier serum, the experiment that transformed Steve Rogers into Captain America. Bruce believed the answer lay hidden inside of gamma radiation, but after experimenting on himself, well, the mild-mannered scientist found himself plagued with a peculiar condition. When angered or provoked, he would transform into the rage-fueled and impossibly strong monster known as the Hulk. And yeah, Hulk is crazy strong. That's kinda his whole thing. He's stronger than Thor, even if Thor doesn't really want to admit it. It takes 2 hands for Thor to catch just one of Hulk's punches. And you can't say the same in reverse. Hulk was regularly sending Thor flying all around, smashing up him and his brother. So yeah, Hulk might not be the most popular guy in the Odinson household. And Thor wasn't the only guy Hulk has sent flying. I mean, just ask Ultron how hard Hulk can hit. Just ask Abomination what it's like to tangle with the Hulk. Hulk regularly fought against the military and smashed up all their equipment, all their trucks, their tanks, weapons, and everything. He straight up yeeted Emil Blonsky straight across the yard. Like, holy crap, Hulk will just straight up kill a guy. And I mean, just look at the way that Hulk completely decked a big old giant Leviathan. He did that with just one punch. And the thing is, it's actually pretty consistent for Hulk to do stuff like this. I mean, just ask Surtur. Just look at how he was messing around with other Leviathans in the same fight. He's even so strong, he's able to dent a vibranium wall. The only other guy we've seen damage vibranium with his bare hands was none other than Thanos. So yeah, Hulk is very strong. And on top of that, well, Hulk is insanely durable. I mean, sure, he might have had a low showing against Thanos, but I think that's actually just a lot more impressive for Thanos. Shows how powerful Thanos is, rather than showing off how weak and puny the Hulk is. I also think there's an element of bad writing here, and that's kinda skewed our perspective. Like, let's say that Thanos still beat the absolute crap out of the Hulk, still knocked Hulk out exactly like he did. All that still happens, but then Hulk explodes out of the Hulkbuster at the end of the movie like he was supposed to, absolutely bodies Cole Obsidian, then fights against Thanos again and does better the second time around. Not even saying he wins the fight, just does better. Don't you think we'd all give a little more grace to Hulk for losing to Thanos the first time? Instead, we got this, we somehow ended up here, and since this was the last time we really saw Hulk like actually being the Hulk, left a different impression. Because yeah, like I said, don't let this one thing fool you. Hulk is crazy tough. He's taken tons of attacks from Thor. He's taken tons of attacks from Abomination. Took tons of attacks from Hulkbuster. Acted like none of them really even bothered him that much. Dazed him a little bit, sure, but nowhere close to actually putting him down. I mean, even these attacks from Thor, when he was tapping into his true godhood, like straight up divine power, Hulk was back at it. Hulk technically knocked Thor out in that fight. He fell from like miles up in the air and crash landed. Was knocked out, but still survived. was rammed through like 50 floors and had a skyscraper crash down on top of him, was only knocked out by a sucker punch. So yeah, I don't think I'm exaggerating here. I want to make sure my point's clear. Hulk is really durable. It's going to be really hard to injure him. End of the day, well, the Hulk is still the Hulk, and that still means something. Still means he's the strongest there is. Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross was a former general in the US Army, hell-bent on hunting down Dr. Bruce Banner and bringing an end to the Hulk. Of course, going down this path inadvertently caused him to create villains even worse than the Hulk, like Abomination or the Leader, forcing Ross to, ironically, turn to the Hulk for his help to take them down. From there, well, Thunderbolt Ross became US Secretary of State, where he went about campaigning for the Sokovia Accords, an action that ended with Captain America and Iron Man having a big ol' fight and destroying the Avengers in the process. And as if Ross hadn't caused enough problems, well, now he's President of the United States, and he picked up a little anger issue along the way. The type of anger issue that transforms him into a big red behemoth with impossible strength. As a Hulk, well, Red Hulk obviously has some insane superhuman strength and durability. He's tough enough to where bullets simply bounce off of him or ricochet around. He can just stand there through massive explosions. Literally none of the military's weapons could even put a scratch on him. He was really only ever injured by Captain America's vibranium wings and feathers. And even then, well, Red Hulk showed off a fairly quick healing factor, was able to heal up the cuts and scratches pretty quickly. And while he was momentarily put down by Cap's vibranium blast, let's put this into perspective, because it's actually more impressive than you might think. See, vibranium blast can actually do some pretty serious damage to enemies. Black Panther was able to floor Cole Obsidian with a blast, and this Black Panther was able to floor Namor with a blast too, both of whom have been said to be Hulk-level characters. And remember, the intensity and power of a vibranium blast is proportional to the amount of energy that the vibranium has stored up. So while Black Panther was able to knock out Cole Obsidian with just the hits and damage he had taken from the Outriders throughout the battle, it took Red Hulk directly punching Cap's wings, like a lot, to finally, momentarily, knock Red Hulk down. But the biggest thing for Red Hulk is that he is insanely strong, which, I mean, does make sense. He's a Hulk. He was able to tear apart the White House, level the West Wing with a thunderclap, easily smash another part of the building, even tear apart the Washington Monument as he was jumping past. But Red Hulk's greatest strength feat comes from his fight with Captain America. Ross was able to rip apart Cap's wing with just one hand, then crack and crush his helmet, all of which was vibranium, the strongest, toughest, most indestructible metal in the world, before adamantium came around. And Red Hulk is crushing it and tearing it apart in his bare hands. That's some of the greatest strength that we've ever seen in the MCU. He's insanely strong. Clark Kent is Superman, one of the last survivors of the destruction of Krypton, imbued with the Kryptonian Growth Codex, and the Earth's greatest and most powerful superhero. Now, Superman is ridiculously strong. In fact, he's got some of the best raw strength feats out there, which totally makes sense. He's Superman. He's been able to casually pull massive ships, lift up rocket ships, even fly around carrying an entire apartment building. Those are easily multi-ton feats right there. The guy's definitely strong. And all that strength also easily translates to when we see him in fights. Even in his very first fight against Zod, and his Kryptonian warriors, well, Superman was kinda wrecking shop. Sure, they were able to get their own hits in, but Superman was still strong enough to dominate in a 2-on-1 fight and was actually faced off against General Zod. Well, he ended up killing him and destroyed basically all of Metropolis in the process. He showed off that same strength when he completely no-sold the Justice League and casually overpowered 3 of them at once. These dudes are definitely strong. Then he also managed to fight and beat up Doomsday, even though he had been weakened from kryptonite right before, and then got caught in a nuclear explosion in the middle of the fight. And he completely bodied Steppenwolf, a dude who can also fight against Doomsday. Heck, Superman has even managed to overpower literal world-ending and world-shaping events. He's done it multiple times. He overpowered the beam sent out from the World Engine, then one-shot the machine. He did it again by ripping apart and overpowering the 3 mother boxes. So yeah, I say it again. Superman is like ridiculously strong. He's also crazy tough. I mean, we mentioned it in passing, but the guy straight up survived a nuclear explosion. And a pretty massive nuclear explosion at that, considering that you can see it from outer space. He's straight up destroyed mountaintops as he crashed back to Earth. He's taken attacks from Cyborg and Wonder Woman like it was nothing. Heck, Superman even no-sold an attack from Steppenwolf and his axe. That same guy was dominating all the rest of the Justice League. Like we mentioned, he already had a fight against another version of Doomsday, and they destroyed a moon in their fight together. Superman completely no-sold the attack. And speaking of Doomsday, well, he managed to take all sorts of attacks from Doomsday, including massive energy waves that were leveling the city. But seriously, he took all sorts of attacks from Doomsday and from Zod, and for the most part, Clark has been able to take it all no problem. He's ridiculously tough. He's also insanely fast. One of the fastest heroes in the entire DCEU and a true rival for speedsters like the Flash. And Cal also totally has no problem using that speed in a fight, absolutely blitzing the likes of Wonder Woman or Steppenwolf and having super speed fights with the Flash. He's also got other powers too, like freeze breath or even heat vision, which can reach up to 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, or equivalent to the surface of the sun. Basically, he's the most powerful and unstoppable force in the universe. The ultimate champion for truth and justice. He's Superman. So who wins? Well, let's break it down. Now, the biggest thing going for the Hulks here in this fight is physical strength. And they are both seriously strong, because Hulk has some pretty great strength feats. We're not even mentioning fighting against Thor or Hulkbuster or things like that. But Hulk was able to crack the Bifrost Bridge just by walking on it, then cracked it some more during his fight with Fenris. And this isn't just any ordinary bridge. We saw how many hits from Mjolnir it took for Thor to crack and break the bridge. And this Thor was weaker, but he could definitely swing Mjolnir around. Look at what he did to Jotunheim. The Hulk was able to one-shot a Chitauri Leviathan. Well, he's not the only guy who's done that by now. Iron Man said it would take literally all the energy in the suit and then some in order to break through his armor. Hulk one-shot it. Hulk was able to stagger Surtur too, who was straight up the size of mountains at that point. Like, even at his worst and his weakest, as Professor Hulk, right after snapping the Infinity Gauntlet, Hulk was still able to hold up a huge part of Avengers Mansion with just one arm. Hulk has some pretty great strength feats. But Red Hulk? while he's able to break vibranium. Like we said, he took Captain America's vibranium wings, ripped it apart with one hand, then took Captain America's vibranium helmet, crushed it. This is insanely impressive. It's one of the strongest metals in the entire universe. It's meant to be literally indestructible until Red Hulk got his hands on it. You can argue that this is even better than Thanos breaking apart Captain America's shield, because Thanos had to use his sword to break Cap's shield, and Red Hulk was tearing apart vibranium with his bare hands. But while Hulk and Red Hulk probably hold the strength advantage because it's literally a 2v1, the problem is that Superman is still strong enough to fight against both of them individually. I mean, you can just look at his fights against General Zod and Doomsday and Steppenwolf to see without a shadow of a doubt that Superman can knock around just about anyone. Even in just Man of Steel, Superman was legit overpowering the World Engine, which was emitting enough power and force to completely terraform the Earth, and he overpowered a black hole. Then in Justice League, well, Superman overpowered the 3 mother boxes and ripped them apart. Another instance of him stopping a world-destroying force, because we saw what the mother boxes were about to do if he couldn't pull them apart. But the problem for Hulk and Red Hulk here is that even if they are stronger combined, there's a good argument that they're not going to be able to land a single punch. And even if they did, well, it's not going to be enough to put Superman down. Doomsday landed his punches on Kal-El. For the most part, it didn't do anything to slow him down. So Hulk and Red Hulk are going to have to really go at it if Doomsday isn't able to put Superman down. And that was before Superman came back to life, because when he fought against Steppenwolf, well, Steppenwolf didn't even land a single hit on him. Hulk and Red Hulk have shown no strength feats or speed feats to argue that it would go any differently against them. Lastly, while Hulk and Red Hulk just don't have the durability to survive a fight against Superman, especially if Superman is fighting against them like he did with Steppenwolf. Hulk can be knocked out. Hulkbuster managed to knock him out, Thor was going to knock him out, and Thanos did knock him out in under 30 seconds. And Red Hulk hasn't shown off any better durability than the Hulk, so at best, you can scale Red Hulk up to Hulk's durability and say that the same thing happens with him. Well, Superman is throwing punches just as powerful as all 3 of those characters. He's throwing a whole lot faster punches, and he's throwing a whole lot more punches. Meanwhile, Hulk and Red Hulk aren't going to be able to land their own punches, and even if they do, well, it's just going to do the same thing that Doomsday's attacks did. Just cause Superman to jump right back into action. Hulk and Red Hulk are a formidable team, but they stand absolutely no chance against a Superman like this. Superman wins.